Hi, I'm Polished Black, and today I'm going to talk about Thomas Ellis and how his birth chart really shows that he was born to be the devil. What brought me to this video was that Lucifer was having a contest for Lucifer art. They were asking for their fans to create art. And so what I did was I actually made his Thomas Ellis's birth chart. And I thought it was so awesome how there were so many things in his chart that were like, just, he was born to be the devil. It was just right on a map of his life in a way. And so I wanted to just, dive into that. So what I did for the chart was I kind of made it comic booky and simple just for the contest. But like I said, once I really, researched his chart and was looking into it, I was like, wow, this is something that needs to be explained. It needs to be on a video. So right off the bat, Tom was born on November 17th, 1978. So he is a Scorpio. And Scorpios, as you know, are very dark, mysterious, magical beings. And, they're really into the occult and the dark side. They're rebellious, and male Scorpios are very sarcastic and funny, and they see the truth in everything, and they're very observant, and so that makes them witty and sarcastic. They're also very charming and sexy, and very magnetizing with their eyes, with their persona. I mean, people love Scorpios; they're drawn to them. They don't know why, but they're also afraid of them. The other thing about his chart is that Uranus was in Scorpio also, and it was 17 degrees in Scorpio, and he was born to break the rules. Uranus is all about breakthroughs and breaking the rules. It's electric. It's very Scorpios are good at blowing people's minds, basically, and that's something that Tom was born to do, is kind of shock people with the way he does things. And he even shocks himself. He's always learning about himself. Scorpios like to just, constantly be reborn, which is another interesting thing, that he has Pluto in Libra, which is all about being reborn. Pluto actually rules the underworld. So I think it's really interesting that he has Pluto in Libra, where Libra is all about beauty and balance. It's ruled by Venus. It's that feminine side. It's an air sign. And so Libra is basically what would it be like to feel light as a feather, to feel like an angel, Well, in order to do that, you sometimes have to shed your skin, right? And that's what he does a lot in his lifetime. Tom will be just constantly shedding his skin to be reborn in that sense, basically by going down as deep as he can into the underworld and then coming back up, which also is represented by the Phoenix, which is also representative, of the Scorpio, because the Scorpio is also the Phoenix rising from the ashes. So he has a lot of symbolism in his chart, where all about that idea that he makes these breakthroughs within himself. So just kind of breaking through what other people think is normal. So I bet a lot of people think he's weird if they know him personally, or that he's just kind of, quirky in a way that's different or unique, kind of weird. Also, what I think, also going back to the whole Lucifer playing Lucifer, is that Venus in Scorpio retrograde. And what's really cool about that, if you think about it, is that Lucifer is the morning star, right? It's Venus. In those ancient stories, Lucifer represents the falling star, Venus the morning star, and in his birth chart, Venus is retrograde, being part of the completion of a perfect five-pointed star, making a pentacle in the sky, in a sense, which is another thing that's just amazing, because Venus in Scorpio, right where his sun is, and the planet Uranus are right there, Venus is doing her retrograde phase and creating that pentacle, and we all know the pentacle or the pentagram, that idea of what the devil is seen as, this five-pointed star. So I think it's super fascinating that he was born with Venus falling in the sky the moment he's born. I mean, that's super interesting. The other thing is that in Sagittarius, he has Neptune and Mercury, both of them 17 degrees. And what's interesting about that is, if you were to look at them as the symbol Mercury and the symbol of Neptune together, it looks almost as if it's a devil or a devilish, person holding a pitchfork. because Mercury actually looks like a person with horns, and Neptune actually looks like a pitchfork. So that's super interesting that, you know, our creator, the universe, who made this person, Tom Ellis, and made him, and then put this chart for us all to, you know, decode, is so amazing that she said, hey, the number 17 is super important to you, Tom. I mean, you were born on the 17th, but that number 17 shows up so many times. It shows up Neptune, Mercury, and Uranus, all 17 degrees. So, you know, it's showing the importance of this. Also, I think it's really interesting that these two 17 degrees, it also shows that Tom is a twin. So I think that's super interesting that it shows that he's a twin, and, you know, each one is a little different, whereas Mercury is that trickster energy, you know, Neptune is more of the divine energy of truth and knowledge and divine knowledge and all that. So that could be like his sister, who, you know, is, you know, more on the divine side, and he's more on the trickster side, but basically they come together and they have basically a relationship where he gets to see a mirror image of himself play out the good side, so that he can learn from that, because, you know, he basically has Moon in Gemini, which makes him a total devil, total trickster, total, you know, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So right there, that Mercury is holding a pitchfork in his chart, which proves right there he was born to be the devil. But besides that, you know, Gemini is like the two sides of the coin, and that is what the devil has. The devil has the coin, you know, and it's like, hey, you know, there's two sides to this coin, and there's good and evil, and the devil represents, you know, that we have a choice. You know, we can either, you know, choose the good, or we can choose the bad. We have free will. So, another thing that's interesting is that he has Jupiter in Leo. So Leo, that fire energy that represents drama and theater, and, you know, it represents like me. I am, you know, I'm in the spotlight. That sign of Leo, you know, that sign, he has Jupiter there. So that means that's where he expands. His life is, it's just like everything, all his opportunities, they come from Leo. Like, this is where he learns about himself. This is where he gets his audience, is in theater, is in, you know, performance art. That's all, he's all about that. And we see that, you know, in his work, because it's not just about, you know, playing the part. He gets to actually make the part bigger, and he gets to, you know, expand on it with his own improvisation and his own works and his own experiences. And what's really cool is, you know, like, there's this idea that, like, his dad, his uncle, and his sister, they're all working in the church, and how, like, he grew up working, you know, singing in the church and stuff like that. And, you know, I think the family wouldn't, I would guarantee they almost would say, we kind of expected this from him. And having the Gemini moon, I guarantee that there was this little bit of rebelliousness that was always present in him, like he's our little devil. So I think that they probably are okay with it, because I think through this playing this part, he actually is learning a lot about himself, and how, you know, this all plays a part in his personal life and the things that he's been through, and he's learning a lot about himself. So I think that this part is a turning point in his life, especially moving to Los Angeles, which, you know, there's just so much in his chart that he's meant to be in Los Angeles and, you know, playing this part. And I think that there's going to be a lot more of him in movies. I do. I think he's going to be playing a lot more in movies and just having big roles, because this is what he's meant to do. But Lucifer's a great show, and I'm just looking at the chart, and it's like, you know, he has Saturn in Virgo, and I put that as karma on Earth. And what I'm trying to say about that was, like, that what the empire that he would build on Earth, his karma, his mission on Earth, I think has to do with, you know, being down to earth. And I just think it's so interesting how in Lucifer he is, you know, this fallen angel. He fell from heaven, went to hell, then came to earth. So, like, this is something he has to play out in his life. This is a karmic role that he's playing out. with all of the parts that he plays and being on camera and in the spotlight, like this is all meant for him to learn something about him personally. It's a spiritual journey as well, because like Saturn is like, it's time for you to really get to know who you are. And as a Scorpio, especially with Uranus and Venus, it's all about loving. He's here to love himself. So that means even the bad parts, even the devilish parts of him, the part that made him kind of an outcast in his life, you know, this is where he gets to use it for projection, for, you know, to help other people. And so like, and I think Tom Ellis does a great job portraying Lucifer in a way that we can kind of find him charming, but also see that he is kind of real in the sense that he's still fighting his demons, that he wants to be good, he wants to be in love, he wants to be happy. And if you watch the show, it's so interesting how the characters that are demons and devils and angels that are fallen and all that, they, once they're on Earth, they start to have these earthly feelings and emotions, and they become human. And that's why I love this show, because I really believe that if you live on Earth and you're human, like you do have this chart, this pattern, this map. There's a reason you're here. And one of the blessings of Earth is actually to feel love. And, you know, we are here for a reason, and I think Tom Ellis came here to play a part that really expands his love for humanity, and not just for others, but for himself, and to teach others through playing this role that, you know, we're not all perfect. We all have flaws, and we all fail, and we all pick ourselves back up. And he is a great example of someone who does that in his life and is playing this break. I think it's a breakthrough role. I think it's only going to get bigger and better from here, really. And so, I mean, there's so many interesting things. I could do a million videos. But basically, he was born to play this part and to play many other big, huge parts. Lucifer is a great show. It's on Fox, and everyone should really watch it. Because I think they'll not only fall in love with the character, but also the actor. And that's it. I'm Polished Black. Rock your magic.